Hello everyone, welcome to Learn Overflow. In this video, we will discuss about another LeetCode problem. There is a minimum moves to equal array elements, and this is the second part of the question. So array elements 2. This is a medium level question. We'll understand what this question is trying to say, and then we'll try to figure out what the solution, what kind of solution may have over here. So we'll look into the all possible solutions, and then we'll ultimately find out what is the best case we can go ahead with. Before starting this video, make sure to subscribe this channel if you haven't already. Also, comment down your thoughts or any questions if you come across throughout this video. I'll be happy to help you out in the comments as well. So let's start this video. So the question says, given an integer array nums of size n. So there's an integer array for us nums, and it's of size n. And this return, like we need to return the minimum number of moves required to make all array elements equal. Okay, so it has some array elements, and we need to find out the minimum number of moves using which we can make all array elements equal. Okay, that's good to know. Like next it says, in one move you can increment or decrement an element of the array by 1. Okay, so one move means we can increment any array element or we can decrement any array element by 1. Okay, next we can have like the test said, the test case is designed so that the answer fits in 32-bit integer. So there's a return type is there. So how many moves will be there will be less than 32-bit integer. So you can be rest assured about what is the return type, and the methods will be there. Okay, now let's understand these examples given to us, and let's try to find out what exactly we are supposed to do over here, right? So here we have a nums that is 1, 2, and 3 being the array elements, and it says like there should be 2 moves. So moving ahead, it says like only 2 moves are needed, like each move being increment or decrement of one element. So what are the 2 moves? First, from 1 to 3 we increment 1 and we make it 2. Okay, then from 2 to 3 we decrement 3 and make it 2. So we have actually 2 steps. One is increment of the element 1 and decrement of the element 3. So those 2 moves and make it all the elements equal, right? So just looking at this, think carefully. A solution that might come into your mind is that what we are trying to do is more or less finding an average of the places, like average of all the values we have, right? It's like if it was something like, say you wanted to make all the array elements as 3, okay, then how many moves you would have required? You would have required like increment 1 2 times to make it 3, then increment 2 1 times to make it 3, right? So that would result us in a more value. So that's not the minimum number of moves, right? And also reverse case, if you wanted to make all the elements as 1, so in that case also you could find that the value we have is not exactly what we're looking for. I mean, if we wanted to decrement all the elements to 2 1, then also we will find that there will be 3 moves, right? So the minimum number of move will be more or less looking towards the average. The average of 1 to 3 is 2 itself. So we incremented 1 and we decremented 3. So that's the idea of this question. Okay, so but think carefully. Average is the condition that we are more or less looking for, but we need to think, is there any other way that might help us in reducing the complexity, and also what is the complexity we're coming across when you're thinking of average, right? Let's try to understand, and let's see if we have any other things we can think of. But before that, let's understand another example, that is 1 10 2 and 9. So now how will you do that? It's because it was a sorted array. You simply came across the 1 plus 2 plus 3 divided by 3 is more or less 2 is the answer, and you found out answer to it. Now if we are like 1 10 2 and 9, is it like any value that we don't need to increment or don't need to decrement? We need to change all the values here to come across a value that is like to the value where the minimum number of moves are required, right? So what can be something like that? It can something like it. First find the average here. So what can be 11, then and 9 20 22. So average will be more or less 11, right? So if the average is 11, then in the first case we need to increment 10, then we need to increment 1. It's not 11 as a value, but it's like more like we need to find like the common point where more or less everything will be sorted. It's not 11. Why it's not 11? Like the sum is 22 and we should divide it by 4. So it's more or like 5.5 will be the value around 5.5, right? So let's say we take it as 5 or we take it as 6. The answer should be same actually, because it will be like incrementing or decrementing, either way the answer should be same. So it's like 1 plus there will be 4 steps, and then like I'm taking it to 5, okay? And then if it's like 10 plus, there will be like we should subtract something. 10 plus minus 5, 5 steps will be required, so that is 9 steps required. And then 2, take it to 5, exactly take it to 5, then that will require us 3 moves. And then 9 minus 4 steps, so do this subtraction. So this two sums to 7, and there's 9. 7 and 9 is 16. See, that's the answer we are looking for. So we find that the answer is looking towards the average, right? Now how will you do that? To do an average, look, there's a problem in this particular approach. I will tell you in a moment. To do an average, you need to first loop through the whole loop, right? And then find out what we need to loop through whole loop, and then find out the sum actually, and then with the divided with the total number of elements in the array. Okay, so find out the sum and divide it with the total number of elements, and then again loop through the like loop through the whole array, and then try to find these values, and then find a sum of this value. Like, this is not the simplest way. We think anything simpler than this? So yes, we can do something. Say we have 1, 10, 2, and 9. Okay, what can we do? Let's sort the array. What would it give us? Like 1, then it gives 2, then it gives us 9, and then it gives us 10. Okay, so that's what we sorted the array. So arrays.sort is something that helps us with this. So in the worst case, arrays.sort will be of n log n complexity. Okay, now see what we can exactly do. We need to do the average, right? So we can do something immediately. What I mean is, without traversing the whole array, like after sorting, without traversing the whole array, can you do something like this? 10 minus 1 by 2. Why I'm doing this? It's more like, see, average will be, we have the extreme ends at both the ends, right? So extreme, like 10 plus 1, 11 by 2 is more or less 5. Okay, and then we go ahead with something like 2 plus 9 by 2, something like that. And that's the idea actually behind this question. If you remember, there's an important question actually. The question goes ahead with something like meeting point problem. If you remember, this is a very popular question. So the meeting point problem is like, there are few people, like few friends whose home are at different locations in a city, and they want to meet at a certain place, right? So in a certain place they want to meet, and they don't want, like anyone don't want to travel a larger distance unnecessarily. Okay, so it's something like we find out the like median of the particular like all the locations, and then we subtract the median from each of the places, right? So that was the idea behind that. So this question is exactly similar to meeting point problem. So here we need to find the minimum number of moves. Okay, so on the meeting point problem, we had something like, what is the minimum distance each of like minimum total distance we had to cover, something like that was there in the meeting point problem. If you don't know meeting point problem, make sure you search it over the Google. You'll find a like it's a pretty popular question. Okay, now what exactly we are trying to do over this question is like, say I'm just let me explain this again. So say you have 1 and 10 like being two extreme ends. So anyways, you either need to increment 1 to some extent, and you do decrement 1 to like you decrement 10 to some extent. So how many steps you need to like cover up in the total case? In total case, 1 will increase to some value in between this, right? 1 will increment and 10 will decrement. So more or less, we are traveling the, like say only single person is traveling, then it's traveling the total distance covered by both will be like more or less, this is going here, this is going here, this is the total distance being traveled. So how much is this? So that's basically 10 and 10 minus 1. So that's the 9 is being the total distance traveled by both of these extreme ends. So both extreme ends should travel to some total distance. So how this is actually working. I'll tell you what this working or not. Let's see, like 2 and 9 is there. So subtract 2 from 9, and we find an answer of 7, right? So 9 plus 7 ultimately ends up in a 16 we have over here, right? So how this is actually working? This is working in a formula, like we are finding the average. We are finding the average. We have a sorted array and we are finding the average in like every case. What's the average? Average is more or less like 5. If I take it average being 5, so 1 needs to take 4 steps and 10 needs to come back 5 steps, right? So ultimately, how much distance is covered by both of them is the distance between them, right? So say there are two friends, you and your friend is there, and you both wanna like meet at a point, like whatever point it is, right? So what needs to be done? Say the point is somewhere between, like in between your home, like you both of your home, and it's somewhere in between your home. So what will happen? You will move some steps towards that location, and your friend will come towards the location, right? So like to that place towards the location. So what is the total distance covered? Total distance covered is actually the distance between your home and your friend's home, right? Your friend is moving back some step and you are moving forward some step. So the total distance is sum of the steps taken by both of you. So that's how it actually works. Like 1 needs to increment to some values and 10 needs to decrement to some values. So it's more or less, you can say, we actually ended up having like total distance being the exact value. Like we ended up reaching a median point, like midpoint over here, right? So this is the basic idea behind this. See, on this case, the first complexity would be going ahead with n log n, like we need to sort the array. And the next complexity will be a pretty smaller complexity, that is we are traveling only half the array. Look, whatever big, whatever long array we have, we are traveling half the array. So we are not traveling n elements, rather we are traveling half of the elements. So if it says like n is nums dot length and nums dot length may be 10 to the power 5, just consider you are traveling 10 to the power 5, and in between you just traveled only 5 into 10 to the power 2, right? Isn't it like you just traveled half the distance? So that's how you just reduce the complexity to many folds actually. So that's the idea behind this question, and that would be the easiest explanation I think I can tell you. And to do this is like simple array. The first we will sort, and then we will run a while loop and count the total values we have over here. Okay, so let's go ahead and write some code. Yes. So you can see exactly that this is a 3 millisecond solution, and more or less you will find that based on when you run this code and how you run this code, it may end up like 3, 2, or 1. Somewhere, sometime it may end up in 0 millisecond as well. So that's how a small error you can think in that time frame, but it's more or less the fastest solution you can come across. So what exactly we did? We just sorted the array, then took two pointers, pointers being one being the 0th element, like one at the extreme ends, okay, both the extreme end, and other being the maximum element that we have in the j position, the num dot length minus 1. Okay, and then we have a final answer element. So this answer is like we initialize it to 0. So initially we are considering that there's 0 moves that we need to do, okay? And then what we're doing, we are just checking that while I less than j. So that means while I is less than j, so we are ensuring that we traverse half the array, okay? And what we are doing, we are just adding the difference between I and j to our answer array, okay? And then we incrementing I and decrementing j. So while it is less, we will keep on adding the differences, and finally we'll find the answer. And you will find this is the solution that works for us as well. So this is like exactly the question, if you remember the meeting point problem I told you a few minutes back. There's exactly that kind of question. That's the meeting point problem, okay? And you can actually think of it in that manner. So I hope I can make you understand what this question is and how you can solve this question, and how you should think on finding a solution of this question, right? So if you haven't subscribed to this channel, make sure you subscribe the channel, and also make sure you just comment down any thoughts you just come across, or if you just couldn't understand any parts of it, comment on your thoughts, and also like this video. That gives me a motivation to make more such videos. And so thank you all for watching this video. I hope to see you soon in my next video as well. Thank you.